Hi, everybody. It's Alana from Treehouse. How are you doing? I have today, back by popular demand for more questions, Daniel DQ Quagliozzi from Go Cat Co. San Francisco. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, Chicagoland area.
Heard that.
greetings, greetings from San Francisco.
I heard your cat just pooped.
He did just seconds ago. I'm in this room with all of my belongings and all of his belongings, and right next to me here is the litter box. So you suffer, I suffer, we all suffer.
I mean,
That's the
I'm
way to
okay.
be.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
have
I'm
a
good
problem.
with it. I'm good with it. But
Oh, you see? Okay. It's
it
fine. It's
happens.
not suffering.
Shit happens, right?
That is the most apt use of that phrase, I think. Yeah, it does. It does. Well, thank you for coming back to talk to us on House. And I had a lot of questions for you last time. Um, Today, I think we were going to talk about your perfect home environment for a cat. But for people who have not seen you before, why don't you give us a brief rundown of who you are, what you do, where you are, all that.
Sure. Well, obviously, my name is DQ. I'm here in San Francisco, California, and before all these changes, I was an in-home cat consultant, making home visits to people's homes and real-time troubleshooting what may be going wrong with any myriad of problems. Could be cat aggression to other cats, to people. Litter box issues are a big one. And I mean, there's a lot of different, a lot of popular issues that I'm dealing with. Now I'm doing these consultations the same way we're talking right now. I do video consults, and for things like aggression or uh, where maybe their behavior may not unfold in real time while we're talking, I will ask people to send me video. So I've been getting some really interesting videos of what people are dealing with now that they're living with their cats 24/7. So this is a really good topic about what's the perfect home environment for a cat, because essentially what I'm doing when I'm doing these consultations is like looking at your house through a cat's eye and going like, where would I go if there was a problem with this other cat? Where are the bottlenecks in your environment? Are there places where cats get trapped? Are there areas where cats don't have choices and that's leading to more competition for either spaces or litter box areas, feeding areas? So finding the right environment has a lot to do with sitting down and looking at your cat or cats as individuals and then saying like, how do I meet the specific needs of this cat and all of them in in various different ways, so that they can make choices that are better and more conducive to balance and peace than what may be unfolding because we, the human being, the guardian, created an environment that just sucks. It's just not the right fit, and it's the right fit for us. It's a selfish fit for us. So uh, having worked 12 years in an animal shelter, and I continue to work now in an animal shelter on my part time. Um, it's one of the things I came up with. It's a slogan is like, surrender yourself, not your cat. There's a lot of things you must surrender to in order to live life with a cat. There's very little that you can control, but you can act. But if you create an environment for them where their choices are more apt for balance and success, you can pull yourself out of it. And I think that is the first hurdle we face as cat guardians, is that like we want to control our environment. We want our litter box in this room, not that room. We don't want a litter box next to our desk, right? Which is what I have right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that we see what happens when the litter box is next to the desk.
yeah, right. You got to live with it, right? Or you've got to eat some crow here and scoop your box more than once a day or twice, 2, 3 times a day. You're meeting their needs, and that's how we live in harmony together. So we can pick apart each and every aspect of what makes the environment perfect. Everything from uh, territorial enrichment to places where cats want to scratch to litter boxes. I mean, we can go through every little bit if you want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about what are really the basics that we need for a cat. I mean, we know about food and water and things like that, but the basics beyond what you would normally think of, like where to place the litter box, or you tell me, what do you think are like
Sure.
not food and water, but a little bit above that?
Okay. So, I mean, it's hard to not include food and water because it is a territorial resource. So just like look at everything as a resource and something that your cat needs in the house in order to be happy, right? So food and water stations, to me, they come up. I don't want to eliminate them because they come up as places where cats are often tense. It has a lot to do with our ritual and how and when we want to feed our cats, and sometimes that's not conducive to either their energy level or their uh, where they may be misfiring their behaviors in some cases. So if we look at litter boxes alone, we make very selfish choices about litter boxes, and there are a lot of products that are just geared towards our need for not really having to deal with the dirty part of having a litter box, right? So there are boxes that are designed uh, for less dust and less tracking, but they may be compromising your cat's headroom with a cover that's too short or too small. There may be boxes that are just not big enough, and I think 90% of the boxes out there aren't big enough for the average cat. So when we're making these choices, we have to look at who is this cat? How big is he? What are his habits? What rooms does he actually like, she or he like to be in? Rooms that have social significance to your cat. Those are the rooms we hang out in, the rooms we share. Those are the places your cats want to eliminate. So I call, when I talk about this with my clients and I see your eyes rolling, we
I mean, I'm not rolling them. I'm like, oh, yeah.
yeah, right? It's like I call it like let's visit your discomfort zone a little bit because the discomfort zone is where your cats are most comfortable. So if your choice is, I don't want to see this box, I don't want to smell the box at all, I don't want it in my kitchen dining room. Understandable. I get that. It's probably not a good place to have your box. However, places where you find yourself sitting a lot, that's going to be your bedroom, it can be your living room, family room, basement area, whatever. If you're on the East Coast, you probably have a basement that's like a family room. Um, those are places your cats hang out and where they see value and that have territorial um, value to them. So they're going to be happier eliminating right there with you and in front of you in some cases. And does that mean every cat it has the confidence to do that? No. Some may prefer to go down the back hallway into the pantry and into that special private place that you made. If in fact all the other factors around in the house are conducive to the cat making it back and forth to that box without feeling inhibited or bullied or trapped, um, or like it's going to be an adventure just to get there. So, folks who have children and a lot of foot traffic, a lot of noise. I don't have children or understand them, so this is my way of
So
but
really, we should be pretty happy that even though I would probably say a majority of households are hiding their litter boxes somewhere that the cat doesn't want to go, those cats are superheroes for even bothering to go use them because it's really not what they want.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're daring them every day to go past their comfort level and to acclimate to something that we thought for our sake this should work out. So all I ask is that you think about those choices that when you look at litter, that you're not buying a litter that, well, let's just think this way. If you've ever had to walk barefoot on something like pebbles, rocks, sand, dirt, spread some of your cat litter on your floor and walk barefoot over it. If you think that your feet are sensitive to walking on pine pellets or crystals or pearls or any of these other litters that are designed for human appeal, think about your cat's sensitive little toe beans on those things and covering and digging through it and all that. You know, that's what we have to balance out. Like, what is it that our cat wants? And there are going to be signs. Your cat's going to show you through their actions that they're actually not happy with what you're providing. They're going to pee right next to your box. And when I have clients that tell me their cat is pooping and peeing only next to the box, I'm like, hooray, that's great news. Because it means that your cat has good intentions and understands that this is a place to eliminate, but something isn't lining up in what you're providing. So simplicity, size, you know, the room to make a choice is what your cat wants. And they want to do it comfortably, and they want to do it without feeling vulnerable. So there are a lot of different choices you can make in your environment that are conducive to that. Think of vantage points as well. And when your cat is in the box, what can they see? What can't they see? Who's coming? I hear, you know, somebody's little collar with a bell coming down the hallway. I'm gonna pinch a loaf as fast as I can, and I'm gonna get out of that litter box before I get trapped. So that time after time after time is going to create some kind of issue that you have to then solve through experimenting. So you can hire somebody like me who's going to walk you through, you know, all these different ways of experimenting. We're going to see where your cat votes. We're going to do a Pepsi Coke challenge with your litter boxes. Which one do they choose? They look alike, but what is one difference, right? And see, I experiment with litter depth. How deep is the litter? Is it too deep? Is your cat digging for a bald spot to plant in? Or are they struggling to find litter to cover? Is all the litter in one side of the box? These are things that are telling you, like, you're going to have to finesse. And the other part, we could do a whole hour on litter boxes, but, you know, the other part of it is, you have one cat doesn't mean you need one box. You need as many boxes as you can humanly put in your house. That is my advice to you. You'll get away with it, sure. One cat using one box for years and years and years, and it's fine. Two cats using two boxes, maybe that's okay. You know, there's a boilerplate rule every time you look online for cat advice about litter boxes, about one box per cat and an extra. And I think that's a good, solid frame of reference. It's choice. Every cat has a box and one tiebreaker box, but I just say put them as many as you can, because your cats will use those boxes. You know, if they were out in your backyard, they wouldn't go to the same corner in your yard and pee over and over and over and over again. They would find different spots. So within your house, to have that choice is very, very important. It's something that a lot of us can't do it because we don't have the space for it.
That's what I was laughing at earlier when you thought I was rolling my eyes when you said that they like to go where we are. I remember when one of my indoor cats now used to be an outdoor cat, and he was supposed to live outside, and he ended up really bonding with me, and so I brought him in the house. But I used to be out there gardening, and I remember one time I had this beautiful big pot, and I was digging a hole about to put a flower in it, and I turned around, and he was in it, peeing and just looking so happy, looking right in my eyes.
Jackpot.
And he just looked so pleased to be there. And I was like, oh, yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, our neighbor has a cat out in the yard, and, you know, we have areas that are really soft, and I can watch and see where he chooses to go. And for some of my clients who have indoor, outdoor cats, they don't have boxes in their house because their assumption is the cat goes outside all the time. But is the substrate outside always 100% viable for your cat? Probably not. Sometimes it's harder than it is. Like, temperature changes it, the rain changes it. So, you know, even if you have litter boxes just outside your house on your deck, those are still good choices for your cat to use on the interim, on the way in, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
The first time I saw a cat use the dirt, I think I was in Italy, like on a farm, probably, I don't know, like 8 years ago or something. And there was this cat, and she was really awesome. And she climbed up on my shoulders, was hanging out with me, and they had all these cats running around, and they loved them. And she hopped off, walked over to the fence, and then just dug a little hole. in the side of the road and went. And I don't know why I was so floored, like, oh, that's how they're supposed to do it. And then she like picked it over and then walked away. And obviously she picked a clean spot. It was a spot she hadn't used before. So, I mean, it's a good point to kind of think of like, what would they do if they were outside, and kind of how can you make them comfortable like that? So,
yeah, I mean, what we deal with, like, as far as quote misbehaviors, these are cats trying their best to live trapped in a box with us based on what we have given them to make do with, so as human beings, we all have preferences. There's going to be certain situations where you're never going to use that public restroom. You're going to walk in and you're going to be like, hell no, out, I'll hold it.
I will hold that.
So, imagine if you're that cat and this is the place you're most comfortable, but like your litter box is controlled by a human being who's oblivious. That's going to be problematic.
Yeah, that's fair. So, all right. So we've got some thoughts on Litterbox. We've been getting some comments here. So Jason said his cat's been happy to have him around during the pandemic, which is nice. I think that's good. We've been seeing all these memes about cats who are like, get out, and the dogs who are so happy. But like, I think my cats are happy I'm here. One of them has gotten so attached to me now, like she was already attached to me, but now like she's always on me. Not right at this moment, but
I would say, I mean, I can't relate specifically because my cat Cubby is like, hey dude, whatever, I'm gonna spend half the day on the other side, on the west side of the house. So I'll see him in the evening, but there hasn't been an uptick in our social bonding. But congratulations to Jason and to all of you out there who are solidifying your bond even better, and it's not backfiring. A quick story. I have a client who has had a cat for, I don't know, 5 years, calico, female, never ever showed any behavioral changes. And her boyfriend, who's been to the house a number of times, but certainly not 24/7, has been having trouble. And by trouble, I'm meaning this cat is reacting with aggression and like the severity of reactivity on this cat is like, it would be like you high pitched screaming at a ghost, just like, like all day, every time she sees this boyfriend. And it started.
Wait, the cat is screaming at the boyfriend. The boyfriend's not screaming at the cat.
No.
Oh, I got
that clear. Yeah, no, the boyfriend, he's actually really cat savvy and really great about how he's approaching the cat and trying to, like, it's just to put it in perspective, like cat reactivity, you probably see it a lot in animal shelter settings when cats are in a new environment and they see other cats and they are just like, they just stay aroused in the wrong ways, and they don't ever de-escalate. So what happened was they one evening, this guy, I forget his name, went to the bathroom like we do in the 3, 4 in the morning sometimes, and when he came into the bedroom he flicked on the light and the cat just flipped out, just reacted, ran after him, tried to swat him and attack him, and nothing like that had ever happened before. So to make a long story short, what that is what something called non-recognition aggression. It's when a cat suddenly doesn't recognize familiar people or cats and sees them as a threat. And the first thing I was wondering is like, where something happened, where you stepped on this cat's tail, or some kind of association was made. What's your relationship been like up until now, if this is such a surprise? And there really wasn't anything. So they tried their best over the course of 3, 4 days to try to olive branch with this cat, but every time they attempted, the cat would react and get aggressive. So we confined the cat to the bedroom with a baby gate, softening that barrier between him and that between the guy and the cat, allowing the cat not to feel threatened, but also to create this really nice soft distance between them that's manageable. And then he could then start with positive reinforcement and trying to change his impression a little bit. Of course, first thing I said was call your veterinarian. This cat could be in pain. We don't know. Maybe something's going on internally. A toothache could set off a cat. Don't touch me. Get off me, right? Keep you aggravated. So regrouping with the vet and seeing what's up there, and then of course working on this really slow chipping away process of trying to reacclimate. So, folks like Jason who are doing really well with their cat, there are folks who are having the polar opposite happening, with, I'm quarantined with my boyfriend who was never here before. Now he is, and there's changes.
So there's a couple other questions coming in, and so we've got YouTube and Facebook going on at the same time here. So guys, these are a little bit out of order, and I do want to get back to some of them. So there's a King John who asked a question, but I want to stick on this topic for a second. We've got some comments where Olivia said her cat has been super happy to have us around. She's been more cuddly than usual and wondering if when she goes back to the office, it might be a struggle. And then on that note, we also have another one here from Luke. His cat's sleeping patterns have changed the last week. His eating habits have also changed. He's been home for 4 weeks and he's noticed she's more active at night and eats more at night when he's asleep. Could this be because I'm home? And also added, he's also become very picky with his food. So it sounds like there's a lot of different things going on with people whose cats are home with them now. So what do you think?
So we'll start with Olivia's question. I do think, Olivia, that, likely if the bond is strengthening, you're creating new routines and new expectations. Expectations are what your cat sets their clocks to. They want to know how that day is going to roll out when they wake up. And they want to know that there's benefits involved. That's where you come in. So benefit of just you being around and being, snuggly and cuddly is something that, you're setting a nice high bar. And now your cat's like, yeah, the bar is never going to get lower than this anymore. It's going to stay here and go higher and higher, right? So I would say that, likely if we are ever allowed to go back to work again and leave our houses, you should be prepared in advance. If you can, maybe you spend a week before you're about to go back to work by reducing the amount of time that you're home. Go out for walks, leave, go, spend some time outside, come back, and see if that has any impact, because we just want to baby step our way to our absence again.
So it's a valid point. Yeah, trying to work them into it instead of just a sudden drop off, right, in their routine. And then Luke was asking about the cat's eating habits. It looked like have changed since he's been home.
Okay, well, I mean.
Or rather, he's been home for 4 weeks, but the cat's habits have changed in the last week.
Oh, I see. So, I mean, the sleep pattern that you're describing seems a little bit normal to me for a cat, being active at night and eating more at night. I feed my cat more in the evening than I do any time of the day because of that uptick in his activity. But if that wasn't the case before, and it is now because you're home, it's your cat adjusting a circadian rhythm to how best to benefit from being around you. So I think about, animal shelters that are open all day long when cats are supposed to be sleeping. And then we shut the lights 5, 7 o'clock and we all leave and the cats are up all night long, sitting there alone in their cages, right? So now in your house, you are now home all day and your cat who may have been sleeping before during the day, and most of them are. I call it airplane mode. You switch off and the cats are just half in, right? Half out, mostly out. There you go. Airplane mode right there. So, most are going to keep up on that. I will say my cat Cubby, who does sleep probably 12 hours a day or more, is really only active from 7 p.m. till, I don't know, 2 a.m., something like that. He is up all day. He's wandering around the house. He's got any port in a storm. He is like, oh, you're my friend now. And I've been giving him more treats than I had before. So these are all things that make it worth it for them to stay up all day long, and then to be or be awake all night long too, or sleep during the day. So they're just adjusting how best to live with you and still get the things they need.
Makes sense. So let's go back. We had somebody ask, hello, do you all suggest leaving food out all the time, or do you suggest feeding time? So you were just talking about treats, and I know we talked about this a little bit in our last discussion, which I found interesting because I think you had started talking about feeding more at certain times. I think people's penchant would either be leave it out all the time or give them the same exact meal twice a day.
Yeah.
But you have some different thoughts.
Well, I mean, cats do best when they eat small meals throughout the day, you know, and some folks, their way of accomplishing that is just by leaving a full bowl of food out. Go help yourself. The buffet is open anytime you want it. And that's probably going to work for some cats, that they actually are disciplined enough to eat what they need and not overeat. But it also makes for a bowl of food that you have no idea how palatable that food is if you're not changing it out every day, or it isn't completely eaten. People are just topping it off. You start to see that little hole in the middle where they're just kind of eating and they're not getting around the edges, right? So we push it all back in again. So sometimes free feeding puts stale food in a bowl with good food, and you're going to see crumbs mixed in with regular food. There's a lot of reasons that it devalues the food, and humans tend to want to feed on that AM PM schedule that matches their work day. I feed my cat, I leave for work, I come home, I feed again, and then I'm pestered by my cat all night long because they want more, right? So if you're doing these small meals throughout the day, but it's you who brings out the food, it's a better opportunity for value. I'm going to show you. I think I did this last time. We're going to do it again, just quickly. If you can see this, can you see that?
Yep.
Did I break it? Okay. So those are my food toys. Two store-bought food toys. The one on the right is a cat teat food foraging toy. The other one is a Trixie Pet foraging toy. That is an empty plate of raw food. And this is an ordinary box, right? And I'm moving around here with my foot. This ordinary box had votive candles in it, but what I put in that are treats, because it's a way for my cat to get food or treats that are higher in value, but to work for that experience. So, something like this is going to be a pain in the ass to get food out, especially if you're my cat with really short feet. You've got to really judge this. And anytime he tries to get the food out, the box moves. These little slats in the middle move. So it's not easy, So during the day, I might have that. In the evening, I have these. I've got a tunnel here. I am stuck in this room with a circus cat, and I'm doing my best.
You've got a lot of real estate in your room dedicated to Cubby there. You got the scratchers and the litter box.
Even this, there's this floor to ceiling cat tree, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in this small space that I'm in to just meet his needs. But on the subject of food, if you're feeding in a way that's not just like wham bam, thank you, I got my food and it's done. These food puzzles are a great way to add value, to like hone in their attention, and just think about it. Like there's going to be a part of the day or evening where you're like, oh my God, this cat won't leave me alone. He's under my feet, or he's meowing. What does he want? And likely he probably does want food or treats. So if you're just giving the treats, he's like, thank you, more treats. But if you're giving him the treats and something like this, it's an event. And it's an event that you can regulate, and you can move it and strategize it. You can be preemptive. If you know that you put food on the table at 6 for your family, but Fluffy walks over the table and starts begging or jumping up and trying to steal your food, then a food puzzle in another room gives him what he wants. It's not like you're punishing him. He's actually getting the food, and he's working for it. He's showing you he's got a skill set. So harness that skill set. It's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, that, oh, my cat has a skill set, he's not a pain in the ass.
So no, I had a cat, Rocky, and he had a wide skill set and a bad attitude, and he loved to eat. But when I gave him food puzzles, I had this little ball for him, and he would hit it and hit it and hit it, and then he knew how to turn it and get the food out, and then he'd eat so much, and then he'd throw it up.
Yeah, that's the opposite of a slow feeder. So what I would do is I would try to make that to one level harder every single time. So sure, they're going to figure it out. They're smart. That's what they're trying to do, figure out that puzzle. When they solve it, you can't just rely on that one puzzle anymore. So maybe that ball or that egg is in a paper bag next time, or in this tunnel that I have behind me, or in the closet under a blanket. Like you're basically trying to add levels of challenge to these situations.
I'm envisioning my cats like at the escape room now. Like we got to buy tickets for them to go to these places. We lock the food,
Yeah.
we lock them in with it.
That's right. Pull this lever, flick the switch, get this key.
60 minutes on the clock, kitty. Cool. So that's some good advice for feeding and making it interesting and adding value to it and being more interactive with your cat while we're doing it. So let's see, what else do we have here? So here's a different one, not about food, but Jenny says, why did my cat suddenly attack me? I can be stroking him and he'll turn on me. Also, sometimes he'll jump on my leg and bite me for no reason.
I'm skeptical that it's for no reason.
I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting. I was waiting to see if your first thought would be, here's a reason. So what do you think?
So when someone tells me I'm petting my cat and they bite me and for no reason they bite me, I mean, they're biting you because they're overstimulated. And with petting specifically, we'll talk about the biting, jumping on your leg. That's a whole different motivation. But if you are physically involved with your cat, stroking them, there's got to be at some point during, right, from the initiation to the end, when your cat tells you, I told you no, right? I told you stop. There are warning signs. There are body language cues. And I teach classes for our local shelter, for our volunteers, on how to see body language cues so that you're not getting bitten by a cat. Because, you know, when you have a shelter cat that bites a person, that's problematic for the cat and for the person. So, so I would say this to you. There are subtle things your cat does when you're petting them that tells you, I crossed a threshold line. The easiest one is you're petting your cat and they look at your hand. Where's my hand? Over here. Okay. You're petting and they're like looking at your hand, just looking back at it. Eyes will dilate, ears will swivel, whiskers will fan out, breathing will pick up, hair on the back will stand up sometimes. Sometimes it will actually twitch as you pet. If you're petting a cat's spinal area and their back and let's say this is your spine and you're petting it and it dips down, you ever see that? Like where they're like, nope, no way. That's a cat with an absolutely zero threshold for physical attention. But there are some that give us confusing, conflicted signs that we think are invitations. So an important word that should register with this is consent. Is your cat asking you for this thing that you're doing? Are you petting because you want to pet? Are you petting because the cat sat with you and you thought that's what he's asking for, but then he bites you? Clearly, he's not asking for the petting, just to sit with you or near you. People take liberties with their cats, and by liberties, I mean they are doing things that no cat would ever ask you to do. Cats, they physically arouse quite easily. Their rear end, near their tail, the base of their tail is a hot spot where people tend to tap it and pat it. And they think, oh, he loves it because his butt raises up in the air when I do it, and that it may very well feel good, a mix of pain and pleasure at the same time. But it's also arousing your cat, and it could create in that area sensitivity to petting that you inadvertently created because you thought you were actually pleasing your cat when you're not. But I have seen some people do some crazy crap with their cats by picking them up and putting them in boxes and shooing the box down the hall. I had this one client that was so she wanted to impress me by showing me what her cat enjoyed, and her cat walks into the room and rolls down on the wooden floor in front of her, laying on his side. So she takes him from the head and the back and then starts to spin him on the floor, right? I'm sure most of us have pushed our cats across the floor, right? And most of the time they kind of deal with it and they like it and they stop because the floor is a very cool place, so it must feel good. What she's doing is rapidly spinning this cat, like I am telling you, like faster than a tornado. And she's like, he loves it. And I'm like, well, when did he ever ask you to do that, though? When did he ever say, okay, spin me at like 90 miles an hour? Like, you did that. You took those liberties. You made those advances. And because there were no repercussions, you figured must be something he enjoys. So we went back and forth on this, and she was not pleased with what I had to say, but it just comes down to this. Is what you're doing necessary? Is it necessary? Is something that your cat wants? Did they consent to it? If the answer is no, then you are doing things to your cat. So petting induced aggression is just what it is. You're petting, they don't want it. So my advice is stop, do less, do a lot less. Just sit, be present with your cat. Just sit there and be with your cat in the moment, and your presence may be all they want. They don't actually want you to touch them, or touch them a lot less than you normally do. Now, if we're doing the other question she had was about my cat attacking my leg with no provocation. That too is symptomatic of a cat who's either bored, who is looking for cathartic outlets for play that just don't exist. Uh, Most people, when I say that, they're like, but I play with them. I play with them 30 minutes a day, though. Well, play 60 because it's not enough. And also, if we know that this is a situation that happens when you're sitting on the couch and it's bound to come up again, then that falls on you to, again, be preemptive with other things. So we talked about food toys. If you had a food toy in the room with treats your cat went bonkers for, probably less likely to attack your leg because there's a new focus going on. But it's important that we pick toys, and I have one right here, that are interactive, realistic, and distant, socially distant, physically distant, right? So like, do you see how long this is? That's like,
Hold on. Let me shift you so we can see more. There we go.
that's just the pole. Okay, so that's like a 4-foot pole and another 4 or 5-foot lead with a tiny little target on the end, right? That's a Neko Fly toy. Looks realistic, it moves. I like toys that look like real things. And this distance, you've got like good 6 feet between you and the cat, takes you off target. It makes the target further away. The cat's attention is further away from you, and it's going to reduce those instances where your cat crosses signals and then goes for your legs. But you got to keep it real, and you got to keep it like, you got to exhaust some of these cats. They've got a lot of prey-driven energy that we as human beings either don't see, don't allow it. Every time they try it, we're like, no, you go to the bathroom and time out. Like, can you imagine?
Do you think that has to do with their age at all, or is it very specific to the cats, or do you find this more in any particular age groups?
For sure, you're going to have way more energy in that kitten window of time between 3 months and maybe even 2 years. That's when cats are learning how to experiment with the limitations of their bodies. Can I climb these drapes? Let's see. Right? Or can I jump from this ledge to the top of the fridge? I might fall, but I'm a kitten. I'm a young cat. There's always going to be a lot more energy. But then, heck yeah, there's these cats that are ageless in their dedication to play and to physical attention. It's breed related. Here in San Francisco, a lot of my clients have hybrid cats, and they live in these small apartments and these high-rise apartments, but they somehow figure it's a good idea to get a Bengal or to get a Savannah or some kind of house tiger that they got from a breeder, and they spend thousands of dollars and have a barren environment, an environment that is like really clean, and there's just not a lot of bells and whistles for humans or cats. So they get that resistance from these animals who need to go up high and need to have stimulation. So a lot of cat consulting, the work that I'm doing is like holding a mirror to people and being like, This is your house. I can help you. I can lay a foundation. You got to build the house. That's what this comes down to.
So what we got a little bit off topic of your perfect environment for a cat, but we've talked about food, we've talked about litter spaces.
Yeah.
I think now you're talking about kind of the environment and what you think it should look like. I know sort of minimalism in people's houses is a big thing these days, and like these, kind of austere environments. I mean, even me, like I try to kind of keep things fairly limited here. There's not a lot of furniture in here, but like I put a room in the back, which I was hoping would be a nice sun porch for me, and now it's just got cat shelves all over it, and I made all these high things, and then they've got their litter box and stuff like that. Like, what do you think people who live in smaller apartments, or even just people who live in houses that are of larger size, can do for these animals?
Well, one of the things I'm sensitive to are people's limitations, either financial limitations, environmental limitations, time limitations. Can they put up shelves in their house? Maybe they can't. Maybe they have a landlord who's a total jerk. It's like, no, you can't put holes in the walls or whatever, right? Which means that you have to buy freestanding cat trees. So, we can't expect everybody to catify their houses. We can't expect these grandiose jungle gyms being built in every house. But when I walk in, I look at what exists already. And I think, well, you've got this perfectly nice fireplace with a mantle and this nice platform next to it. Why don't we move that table closer, and then this cat tree on the other side, and then you've got a nice circular environment where they go up one way and down the other, but you're using things that pre-exist. So cat furniture is a whole new, brave new world. You don't have to suffer with a beige carpeted cat tree anymore. There are things out there that are gorgeous and that will actually work into your own personal style, because that's important. Believe it or not, it's important for people to not look like cat people. They want to look like themselves, but merge their cat lives in. So I've done my research in time, and I've figured out who's local, who can do a custom cat job, who can put up shelves, who can build stuff that people want, who can afford it, and where are the affordable but decorative prefabricated cat trees, and I give those resources to my clients too. But myself, I'm here in a 5-bedroom house, but I've only got one room to myself, so I can't put cat furniture all over the house, although I'm sure my housemates would be fine with it. Cubby doesn't really need it. It's not what he seeks. He just wants a place to like bread loaf all day, several locations. So but in my room, for sure, here I am sitting at this desk, and this is a hot place for a cat to want to sit with me, so I can have this giant cat tree put next to me so he can walk from the desk right to here and go up even higher. And lo and behold, he'll choose the higher place. If you go on my Instagram page today, or from yesterday, you'll see a photo of a woman who put a ladder in her kitchen. The same kind of folding ladder we all have, a 6-foot ladder, because she fights that battle of her cat jumping on the countertops and wanting to be where she's preparing food. So she rolled this ladder in there as an experiment, and now that ladder is part of the house. Every day she brings it in, puts it there, and now the cat has an alternative place to go. So, it's not perfect and it's not beautiful, but she did what she could with what she had, and that's enrichment.
I discovered that my cats like these things. Like, I don't know if you can see this here. Those nooks up in the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
So notice up in that one is a cat bed. And I moved a little table right there, and it looks like a high jump, but they do it without a problem. And so at least 2 of them like to go up there, especially Pinkle. And then her brother saw her doing it, so he worked really hard to learn how to do it himself. So she'd sit up there watching him, and he would jump and jump and jump, and every day he got a little higher until he could make it. And so now they both climb up there. There's also a little cardboard blueberry box back there. And so one will sit in the soft box, one will sit in the blueberry box, and then when they're ready, they just come down. And they
classic.
Really like it.
You're surrendering yourself. Right? It's like cats are going to look for places. And I hear the same thing from some people who are like, no, he always tries to jump up there and he makes it every time. I'm like, well, just make it easier. Like put a couple steps in between and make it an easy way for him to go up and down. You know, we've got to make accommodations whenever we can. This little tunnel that I have behind me is made of paper. It's you see that? That's a like essentially. There you go. I cannot get this reverse thing. There you go.
The thing on the floor there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a paper bag with a cardboard front. It's foldable, recyclable. You know, it costs like $6, and that I will bring from room to room. If I'm in the living room watching TV with my housemates, I'll bring that in, and Cubby's got a place to hang out right there in the living room.
Nice. So there's some other questions here, but I'm going to skip to this one because it's sort of on topic. So Mike, and I know Mike. He's been an adopter from Treehouse. Hi, Mike, and he's got a cat there. And he's asked me this before, so this is a good question to ask you. For those of us working from home, how do we keep the cat off the keyboards?
So, like, we think about this from the cat's perspective. They're like, you're not doing anything right now. You're just sitting here, right? So they're trying to sit with you, and they're also trying to get where your attention is focused is on your screen. Your keyboards are usually just a little bit warm.
They're nice
right?
and
so
right? Yeah.
Think about why they go there and try to provide an alternative. So heating pad, heated cat bed right next to you, nearby. Just place them in there and see if they choose that instead. But, you know, it's not like you can, it's not a situation where you can be aversive. They will just keep coming back. It's not like you can stop, you know, and remove them. They're going to come back. So right here next to me on my desk is a cat bed. It's pretty gross, but it's full of Cubby's hair, and it's here because of that same reason. He's going to want to be in front of me, in front of my keyboard. So we have accommodated him with a bed. And like I said, a cat tree that is virtually connected to this that puts him higher than me.
Pickle likes to sleep. So I have a composing station for music, and it's got a full-size 88-key piano keyboard. And then I had my little tiny laptop keyboard on top of it. And the other day, she's done this to me multiple times. She'll sleep on the piano keyboard and then slowly inch closer and then start leaning on my hands. And if at any point I remove my hand from the keyboard, she just slides in. And I'll start pushing her back, and she'll just lean back in. Like she just, and I always just figured it was the heat. And probably also because I'm focused on it. So maybe I need to get her a little heating pad.
Yeah.
All right. Question from Karen. My cat is 15 and has a terrible reaction going to the vet. Even having the vet come to the house, he will hiss and growl and try to bite. Do you have suggestions? And she followed up with, he's normally Mr. Greeter to anyone who comes over.
Okay. Well, he's 15, so I wouldn't expect miracles in changing his mind, you know.
Is it the same vet, I guess, would be my question? Like, is it a learned response to that same person?
Likely it's the whole experience as a, you know, the whole thing. I mean, I'm not there to see how it all goes down, but some cats are resistant to just going in the cat carrier, right? The cat carrier alone, the smell of the carrier, the fact that most of the time it only comes out to go to the vet, that association is all they need. So you set, basically it's like, imagine you're setting the timer on a time bomb and you're trying to defuse the time bomb, but every time you attempt to get the cat into the cat carrier, the timer goes faster. And, you know, so it's like, you only have so much time with a cat to negotiate a pleasant experience. And if it goes wrong once, chances are you've already hit this threshold. So you're going to try it. It's like, I've got to go to the vet. It's in half an hour. You're going in this carrier. Now he's in there against his best interest. He feels trapped. Sometimes they're in there peeing and they're vocalizing. And then it's this sensory deprivation for 15, 20 minutes, however long it takes to get to the vet. And now he's in a new place, sterile place. He's being restrained and examined. So, yeah, most cats are going to know through experience that this is not an experience that ends with me feeling like I have control. When you take a control away from a cat, then they feel like they're, You know, that's when a lot of times their anxiety, I hate to use that word because it's not really accurate, but their tension starts to come to a boil. So, you know, having the vet come to you is probably a lot better because at the very least you're in your environment. I have one that comes here, and Cubby, who's a darling most of the time, also hisses and growls when he's restrained. So what it came to was me having a long conversation with my veterinarian and saying, I need you to, I mean, I'm happy to pay for a little extra time if it takes that, but we need to allow this cat time to reset. I mean, we need to allow time to do an exam that doesn't feel like, okay, this is not your choice. Get in the living room. We're holding you down. We're taking your temperature. You know, we try to do it in a way that is less restraint, more like using a towel loosely to hold him and that kind of thing. And if he leaves the room, we don't follow him, grab him, and bring him back immediately because that's going to bring an angry cat back to a place he's already angry about. So, you know, think about where you choose to do the exam, how you choose to do it. Uh, does the veterinarian spend any time negotiating trust with the cat, or they just do their job? And I think that's crucial in this, because you know the only way to make them tolerate it is to maybe regroup with your vet about how they may help the cat feel better. You know, it's not you can't expect a miracle with a cat who's 15. So your choices are adjust the way you do the exam, where you do the exam, and what it means to the cat in the, you know, before, during, and after to be examined.
My vet is very like cautious about that kind of stuff. Like the cat comes in and she's introducing herself, and then she's got like things to rub on the tips of their ears, and she's, you know, very like, into like making sure that they feel good. And one thing I thought about this a long time ago, and recently I was talking to a friend of mine who is an author and who does a lot of writing about cats. Her name's Dusty Rainbolt, and we were talking about how when you take a cat somewhere, sometimes the person, their first thought is to shush the cat. So the cat is like upset, and the cat person's going shh, 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 and to us that's maybe soothing, and to the cat it sounds like hissing.
Yeah.
So do you ever run into people doing that, and like do you recommend not?
Our instincts are to soothe the cat through our presence, right? I'm going to open the carrier, I'm going to put my hand in the carrier and pet this cat, and they know I'm here with them. Most of the time they're like, "Wah!" You know, like it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't change their mind about the experience most of the time. So it's not something to feel don't feel personal about it. They're in a heightened, stressful moment, and it's not, you know, it's PTSD. You can't just pull the curtain back on PTSD. It's there. It's going to be there.
So you just got to work slowly and try to change the behaviors. And
they do, you know, the Fellaway company that makes the pheromone diffusers makes a wipe. You can wipe inside a carrier. I do recommend that you leave a carrier out in your landscape and you take the top off, you turn it into a bed or something your cat wants to be in, and makes it smell like themselves. So it's not like this sterile thing that comes out. You're getting in this. You're going to go, you know, take an acid trip for an hour, you know, like it's, I can only imagine how it feels, you know, like seeing what's going on outside the car, all the like crazy shapes and colors and light, you know, like we don't think about that.
Yeah. All right, great. I'm trying to read through some questions here because I know we're running out of time a little bit. We've had a couple other questions here, so let's see if we can maybe get these kind of as a block. Susan said, "You're back." She's so happy to see you. Thanks,
Hi,
Susan. Can you share the most common mistakes people you find making in their home setup for their cats? And then, so I'd like to kind of finish off on that one and sort of think about your top tips for creating that perfect environment that we've been talking about, or at least, you know, ideal as much as possible. Marina said she loves cats. Thank you for doing what you do. And she followed up with a question. We adopted an 8-month-old kitty. She was amazingly trusting and kind upon bringing her home. Now she's behaving sassy and not being kind. Petting her seems to annoy her. Are there any suggestions on how to revert her to being a nice kitty again?
Okay. So so we have two questions, right? The one
Yeah,
is
so I
like,
kind of, oh, you mean with her? Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
so the first question was that, like, what's the most common mistake, right? I walk into people's houses and I see that they have hardwood floors without carpet or any kind of like runner, and they play with their cats in those rooms, and those cats have no traction, so they have no confidence, and they can't play correctly, or they can't run away from another cat. So it tempers how they may actually navigate through those rooms. Other thing that falls in line with that is that most people don't have cat furniture higher than their waist. They have these short cat trees and lots of furniture, couches, chairs, things like that. So when the cat goes in, there's really no place to truly go up high and feel confident. They share their spots. So most common mistake is not having furniture just for the cat, place the cat can only call their own. And thinking about, if you insist on your cat living on the ground most of the time, what does the ground look like? Are there places to scratch? Are they scratching your carpets that you do have? But then you bought carpeted cat trees too and expect them not to scratch the carpet. Like, so it's just in thinking about general cat necessity in your environment and providing that. And litter boxes are probably more than anything. Like, people don't buy a litter robot. That's all I can say.
My cat broke it. I got my first cat when I was like 20, and he was so fascinated by watching it move that he would just put his foot in and pull it out, watch it go, and do it over and over and over until the motor burned out and it was no more.
Cats and robots don't mix. The second question was about your 8-month-old kitty who is trusting. You brought her home. Now she's sassy and she's annoyed by petting. How do you revert her to nice? Maybe she, was acclimated wherever she was, and now she's in a new place with new people who don't interface with her the same way other people did. So, like I said earlier, back off a little bit, play with her, give her things that she wants, but relent on the physical attention. She will trust you when she knows when she knows what your intentions are. So dial back those intentions a little bit right now, so she can reset.
Yeah, it sounds like if she's a new kitty, she probably just needs a little bit more time to get adapted to her environment. And I think all the things you've been talking about with making an appropriate environment for the cat are probably some things for Myrna to keep in mind for her.
She's 8 months old too. It's like she's, I don't know. she's probably not that complex in what she's thinking at an 8-month-old age, but keep her needs met for play, keep your distance, and let her call the shots. Consent.
I've been letting my cat call the shots lately, and she's getting super sassy though.
Me too. My cat's ordering pizza when I'm not looking. There's all kinds of stuff going on here.
Cubby likes pizza. Yeah, Pinkle is taking my butter. She rides around in my hoods now, so she's always liked to sit on my shoulder. Now she gets in the hood and just rides with me as I'm doing things. And then as the food is going to my mouth, there's a paw that's coming in and rerouting it to the mouth that's on my shoulder. I'm just kind of going with it because I think it's super cute and she's not hurting anybody. She's getting a little sassy. These have all been really great, Daniel. Thank you so much for talking to us again. And then let me put this up here. So if anybody wants to find you, let me make sure I have this right. It's gocatgosf.com, right?
Correct.
If anybody wants to find you.
You can find me there. You can see my videos. There's a lot of entertainment on that website.
I like your blog posts. I've read them and I found them funny to read and enjoyable.
Thanks.
So those are good. But yeah, so if anybody wants to talk to Daniel, you can make an appointment with him. He does Skype appointments and can get more into your specific issues with your kitty. And then, of course, if you have a Treehouse adopted kitty or any issues going on local to Chicago, you can reach us at info@treehouseanimals.org, or you can call us. We are still answering the phones right now, even though we are not on site at the shelter, 773-262-4000. We're happy to help as much as we possibly can, even though we've got limited services going on right now. But we are still adopting, so you can find our adoptable cats right now. I think we only have about 5 left right now. We are getting some kittens in, but we're going to be, I think, getting them adopted out when we can, and we're working through the spay and neuter issues right now, since those are kind of on pause for the moment. But we'll be announcing when we have new kittens available for people. But we do still have some cool cats up there, so check those out on our website. And Daniel, is there anything else you want to leave people with?
Live in the meow.
Live in the meow. Thank you so much. Daniel was going to come back and do this again with us probably next week sometime, I think.
Sure.
If you guys have other questions or you enjoyed this, please let people know. We're going to be doing this again, and we'll have some more live broadcasts coming up for Treehouse as well. So stay tuned. Follow us on Facebook if you don't already. Follow the little group chat, and you can see what we're doing. We've got an event posted up for that. So thank you, Daniel. Live in the meow. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.